My special guest on today's podcast is Xharlie Black, the current musical director, vocal director, and frontman of Cirque Du Soleil's newest original production of MadApple in Las Vegas at the New York Hotel and Casino. Xharlie Black is also a producer, composer, and songwriter for the new big record label known as BMG. And coming from a long line of musical talent, Xharlie Black inherited his velvety voice from his great uncle Nat King Cole. And much like his father, Edward Cole, who was the musical director for Natalie Cole, Xharlie Black toured the world as co-musical director and drummer for the legendary Nas. He has worked with other greats such as Robert Glasper and Miss Lauryn Hill, and helped bring musical sensation Alina Baraz to the masses. Please welcome to the podcast, Xharlie Black. Thank you so much. You are so amazing. Like that bio, it's not even hardly everything. I mean, it's a lot. I had all those good names in there. Xharlie, you are a legend. Like, you come from legends. You are a legend.
Man, thank you. Thank you. What an auspicious intro.
I did my best. We were just talking before you got on the podcast, Xharlie. Like, it is going to be Juneteenth tomorrow. It's going to be Father's Day. It is Black Music Month. You just opened MadApple, which is the newest production. It's the most music-centric production of Cirque Du Soleil. The amount of brilliant Black music in MadApple is amazing. I love everything about the show, and it's super unique. It's not usually that modern. It's not usually that hip. And you were able to get everything in there and still have it be like Cirque style, obviously meshed with the producers from The Illusionist, which I've worked with Simon and Matthew Dupont over the years for their different productions. So it was like a really great parenting of all of these minds within there. And you're in the show. Like, it's also very rare, and I got to see you live. I got to see you for your 50 premieres, like we were talking about before we got into the podcast. And I waited, to contact you because, again, it's been a whirlwind for you, I'm sure, of creating all of this from scratch. And for those listeners out there, a Cirque original production. Again, you're the first original production after Circus come back from the pandemic. And so it's like a really, really, really big deal. Opening up MadApple. MadApple is in the theater that Zumanity was in. So Zumanity was there, for I think almost 20 years. And so you guys had a lot on your shoulders because you had to top the love of Zumanity. Coming into that very familiar space, in a smaller theater, even though it's still really big. And it's packed, and it's amazing what you've been able to do. Like I said, it's like a fusion of hip hop. You brought New York to Vegas. And you've got a lot of hyper acrobatics in there, and you've got amazing singers, in the show. You're all super beautiful, but enough for me and more from you. I wanted to give you quickly too a happy Father's Day shout out again for tomorrow. And
thank you.
As you were telling me before, your baby, one of your children, it's their birthday on Juneteenth.
On Juneteenth. How did he do it? He was like, I want to be here for that.
Amazing. It's finally a holiday.
Yep. My little man, his name is River. We love him so much, our little tiny guy. Oh, man, I could go on and on about that dude. But yeah, he chose to be here on a great holiday. So we will be celebrating him and the holiday tomorrow.
How old is River going to be?
This is his first year.
Oh.
First trip around the sun. He made it.
Oh, dear. And
we kept him alive and healthy for a year.
Yeah, well, I know people don't like to say this, but one of my nieces is a pandemic baby, but I think that that's really special. I don't see any negative connotation to that, but some people say, oh, don't put that on them, but it's a really powerful time,
Yeah. I mean, it's called they say pandemic baby, so it has that negative connotation of pandemic, but it's more like the pandemic time baby, the lockdown time baby. And with all that lockdown, yeah, there was a lot of negative that happened. A lot of people got sick or unfortunately, God bless them, maybe they even lost their lives. But there's also the other side of it that we had a lot of time together, a lot of time as friends, family, couples, even just had a lot of time, a lot of time together. And, some of us had a good time together. And
Just created life during that time, and I'm not mad at you.
I'm grateful that we didn't start fighting and hating each other, and we actually got closer and were able to manifest a new life through this situation. I mean, it's part of the cycle. It's a full circle situation. There was some, God bless all the souls that we lost during that time, but we're also grateful for all the souls that we were able to invite Earthside. My son being one of them, and I'm really grateful for the life that we were able to manifest. Man, he's such a joy. He's our little joy.
Oh, and he's got like the best name too. Like,
Yeah.
love that name, River. It's so sweet. I mean, he's water, which is healing, which is all
Yes.
magical things. And you were telling me too, like you had home births for your babies, and
Yeah.
you were born in
Yeah.
the water, and you had doulas, and
Yeah. I got 3 babies. My oldest is 6. My middle girl, she's 4, and baby boy is about to be 1. All 3 of them at home in the water with our beautiful midwife, Lisa Marie, and her husband, Richard, and our doula, Keisha Davis. And we just did it at home, man. Like, it don't get me started on that.
we want to hear it all, Charlie. Like
I
all.
watched I watched a girl become a woman, become a superhero, become a goddess all 3 times. Like, I just can't believe what woman is capable of. I always had an idea, but to actually experience it as a father is hands down the most wild and awe-inspiring and humbling experience of my life. To see women go through that for me,
Mm-hmm.
between my mother and my lady. Like, my mother did it to bring me here, and you live your life and, like, yeah, it's my mom, whatever. But to have my experience with her and to see what happens to nurture that through the pregnancy to the birth, and do that more than once, do it 3 times, like, don't,
Three
oh man.
3 times. I mean, you've got Father's Day happening on such an important holiday. Now, how did they plan that? When I saw that, I kept thinking it was like a mistake. I was like, how is Juneteenth on Father's Day? Like, I kept asking. I asked my mom. I asked everybody. I was like, are you sure? Like this is actually happening. I mean, it just can't be more beautiful. We also have Beyonce dropping a new album, which I just heard.
Ooh, I didn't know about that. Tomorrow?
Oh my God. It's going to be soon. It's going to be at the end of July. Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. Got some new rolling music.
Yes, yes. The first series is, I think it's called Renaissance. So we'll see how many series she's going to be giving us. But I just happened to like fall into that yesterday. She came out with these amazing photos and stuff too. So it's like, oh, everyone's just doing too much. And then now I have you on the podcast.
I'm honored to be lined up next to Beyonce in your thoughts and conversations. That's amazing. By the way, Beyonce, since you are listening right now, go ahead and bring your husband to the show. It's a New York themed show. I heard your man's from New York. I think he might enjoy it. And let's have some drinks and some conversation afterwards, guys. I think we can come up with some stuff. But I digress.
I know that's on the book, so I'm going to continue to speak that into being for you because
Come on.
like everything that we have seen, I mean, you created a Cirque du Soleil show from scratch. So there is nothing that you obviously cannot do. And I'm sure you spoke that into being in so many different like unique ways. I think that it's really, really cool that you worked with the Illusionists, which for those listening out there is a tour of magicians. And it's a really amazing show. It's been touring for quite some time. They were also responsible for the original 1903 production here in Las Vegas that ran for quite a while. So this is like a resurgence of all those minds together. But, I love that you've been a part of this world in very unique ways, and then how everything comes together. You can just never know. I mean, like, what was the discussion that brought you into MadApple?
Well, that conversation started 12 years ago.
Wow, of course it did. Like everything in my life, I'm like, you guys are just seeing it now. This has been a decade
Right.
making.
Now, I will say Cirque was not the objective. It wasn't on the table, but that's when Neil and I first met, doing a Michael Jackson tribute show called Man in the Mirror. We started out in Myrtle Beach. It was a friend of mine, a performer friend of mine, that was already tied in with Neil doing another Motown show, I think it was. So Neil was saying he was developing this new MJ show, so he needed some people. My friend, who was a performer in the Motown show, ended up being part of casting process for this MJ show. So he immediately called me and was like, "You'd be perfect for it. Do you want to come audition?" Sure, I'll come audition. I'll check it out. I auditioned. Neil loved me. He was like, "We're going to fly you out to New York for the official audition in front of the producer, who was David King." I did that audition, and in that audition, David was and them. They all offered me the actual vocal director position. So I was like, "Wow, it's more than I was expecting. Sure, I'll take it." And then let's fast forward to us actually starting to build the show. So I come in. I'm gonna be nice when I tell this story. I come in. There's so I have to start thinking about vocals and building that side of things. So I come in, we're in Myrtle Beach, I fly in, and the band is there. They have already got some guys. So I go to the first rehearsal space, and I'm like, "Nice to meet you all. Fast forward to let's start now. Let's see what we got." So they start playing, and I'm like, after 30 minutes of arguing and like trying to figure out where to start, then they finally start playing. And then it was like, "All right, let's try something else." And they play something else. Rehearsal's over. "Okay, thanks guys. See you tomorrow." Make a phone call to Neil. "Hey man, listen, this band ain't it. This isn't working. I don't know how I'm supposed to work with this. But I don't say that without a solution. So I got some guys that will come fill this spot. I'm not talking mess just to talk mess. I really got some guys that will fill the spot and give you what you want." The producer and him, that they all talked, and it was like, "Okay, we don't know you like that, so we're gonna come see first." So they came to rehearsal. They came to rehearsal the next day. They saw. They were like, "All right, who those guys? Who the guys you talking about?" I called them. I'm like, "Dudes, listen, got an opportunity. You need to leave tomorrow, though."
Wow.
They were all like, "Okay, fine, cool, we'll do it." They fly out. We get, I think, 3 hours from when they land to getting into the rehearsal space, setting up, running over the first 2, 3 songs. About 3 hours. 3 hours later, the producer and Neil come in, choreographer comes, hit it. Like, knocked it out of the park. Bravos everywhere. They were sold. So off of that, like 72-hour event, that was me and Neil's foundation. That's how we started. And he knew I would deliver, like out of nowhere. He knew that I would bring my part on my side as far as my performance and production. And then he saw that I would deliver on bringing him proper pieces to make him have a great show. So now, 12 years later, I mean, we did that Magic Man in the Mirror show. Then, like you said, we did The Illusionist starting in 2011 at Sydney Opera House. Went all the way till we did Broadway for 2 years. That was 2015 and 16. And after that, I chose to give my full efforts to Nas and let the magic show live and breathe. So I was really focused on Nas from, I'll say, 2016 till present. And then, yeah, there was Alina Baraz in there too. You said, how did the Nas thing happen?
And then we'll get to Alina because Alina is just everything. She is who I wish to be. Who doesn't? If I could be a little bit, I would love to be Alina. My God. But yeah, how did Nas happen?
So Nas was, so those guys that I called and said, hey, I need you to be here tomorrow. Are you down? They were my band. We were a band called Mulatto. We changed the name to Z, just the letter Z at some point later down the line.
Wow.
But yeah, they were already playing with Nas. Were they 2010? Yes, they already were. So they had a lead singer already. Something went down with him, and they ended up getting rid of the lead singer. And I was the next person they called, so I joined the band. And from that, like, we were on there on our own thing, doing our band thing, but they were working with him, so they were like, "We got a new guy. Like, can we get him involved?" So I got involved in that way, and I was doing just triggering samples and doing hype man, singing background vocals. If I ruled the world, all of the good stuff.
I could not. I didn't even have to ask. You did and did it.
Yeah, man.
If I could, I would sing it back, but I cannot. Listen to you. Oh my God, that was everything for the podcast. Listen, we just had a live
one-liner. Oh, stop it!
That's all we need. It's all we need.
But yeah, man, that's what I was doing for. I started doing that in 2011 with the full band, and we did that from 2011. 2012, we did our first tour with Miss Lauryn Hill, the Black Rage tour. The Black Rage Life is Good tour. We did that for a little bit, and then we ended up doing another tour with her later on. But 2013, Nas wanted to downsize, have a more portable setup. So we were a 7-person band and DJ situation. So he wanted to downsize a little bit. So he ended up just keeping me and the DJ. So then it was just Nas, me, and the DJ. And I was like, I don't want to just trigger samples, and I'm also a musician. So I actually asked, can I have a full drum kit? And I'll play and sing and do the stuff like that. So he was like, I never seen that. Let me see it from you. So we rehearsed it a few times, and it was like, oh, yeah, that's great. What? So from 2013 till present, I was singing and playing drums, triggering samples, and then music directing when we did have the full band. So, yeah, it worked out, man. And Illusionist was happening a lot at the same time as the Nas situation. And it just happened to always fall in the same place. I never had to cancel one, choose one over the other. It was just all really meant to be. Okay, so Alina.
I mean, again, you are so blessed. How is it that they never overlapped and you were able to do both at the exact same time?
I looked up to the sky and asked that with gratitude so much.
The amount of times that I have lost out on that gig because the dates just don't line up or one overlaps with the other,
Yeah,
turn down that one opportunity or they call, can you come right now? And you're like, I do actually have a job right now. That is an
yeah,
opportunity that I may never have again, but I can't leave this job. And they're happy for you because you have a job. But what about that job? I mean, especially as an artist in our world, it just, God, not being able to
yeah.
take advantage of both opportunities at the same time is always like it like never works out, but it worked out
Right.
because it
And
was.
even sometimes, like you have both opportunities and you might be able to float both of them, but one job, your main employer doesn't even want you to do that because you'll be out of town or maybe not available. Like, yeah, I was in a very, very good position
Ah,
with that. And the stars and the planets in the universe was working with me. The Most High had my back for sure during all of that because it was just everything was falling into place. Even in the middle of that, that's when I picked up Alina Baraz. Um, our tour manager for Nas had to connect. I don't even remember. I think she actually might have been plugged in with Nas's same management. So that's how that came into play. And that's when she dropped her first single and
mm-mm, mm-mm.
all of that. So she was doing her first shows ever. She never had ever sang in front of anyone ever before.
No
She had
way.
never,
No
ever.
way.
She was about 21, 22 at the time.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it was one of those really serendipitous things. It was her and Gally Matias who produced her first record. They met each other on the internet on SoundCloud and started exchanging files and building their music like that. But she never sang in front of anybody. Her mom hadn't even heard her sing. I think she said,
her
um,
mom had never.
her mom, or her mom was the only person who ever heard her sing, and even that was minimal. So
Something weird like
yeah,
that. Like when artists say things like that, you're always
yeah,
like, where did you even come from with that? Like where your first impetus to sing and like not sharing it with anybody and then they go
right.
through these sensations where it's like, had you kept that inside of you, how much we would have missed out on? And how is it
I'm glad somebody pushed it out of you. Whoever,
right?
whatever it was, I'm so grateful that they did that.
Yeah, what a like an original sound, an original vibe. I mean, like, and that is you. That is your essence, like,
Yeah,
through.
yes.
And
I was very glad to be asked for that one. A new artist, never performed before, so I could give her a game on that level. And
everything. I mean, you
yeah,
do everything. I mean, some people are not on stage like you are too. I mean, now you carry shows. That's also very different. I mean, you just
yeah.
do a combination of everything. There's like not anything that you don't do.
I
It's
tried my best to make sure I can't play the guitar. That's
oh,
my
but
biggest
you
pain
could,
in this life.
but you could. You've got time.
With these three kids and this new job, it's
Yeah, with running the Cirque Du Soleil production, Shenea, and the two babies, and my beautiful everything. Yeah, and then like picking up the emerging original artists. Yeah, I know, things get busy, but again, because you're so iconic and so all over, I'm gonna say you'll find your time,
I'm gonna figure it out.
or it's cool if you don't because
Yeah. No, no, no. I have to.
you're
The
in
guitar is the greatest instrument ever created, and I need to know. I love writing to guitar. It's my favorite instrument to write to.
there. Okay.
Oh
Okay.
God, I love that instrument.
Well, I love that it's the one that you don't do. I just think
Right.
that's so funny and brilliant at the exact same time. But so back to Alina and how again that just like continued to go and how you helped to nourish her and what that process was like, And then I'd love to talk to you again, about how you nourished and massaged, the music of MadApple into this and like, what you decided, what those decisions were like. But I mean, working with her again, how did you help to massage that out?
It was cool, man. Like she had a young management team around her. Everything was really young and new, so they were open. And she and her team knew about her experience and that she needed to be surrounded by people with experience. So not even just me, the band that I chose for her, um, she had like, I think she had a little movement coach come through. She had a great team surrounded by good people with good experience. And that was the goal. Like they didn't try to fluff it and make her be somebody she wasn't or put more on her than they knew she could handle. They knew she was a new young artist, so they needed to develop that. And I think we did a great job in that process. I was her musical director, and I was also playing drums and singing background for her. So she had my support on that end, at least vocally. And then one of my brothers, Eric Choice, he was on piano and vocals as well. So we were her musicians slash backup singers. And she has that vibe and that sound. So I wanted to do the kind of old school thing to where the musicians actually sing as well, and do the background stuff. So that worked out really nicely. Um, yeah, my guy Dustin Neon Phoenix was on bass, and my guy Bradford Tidwell on guitar. Nice little 4-piece situation, and we knocked it out, man. We traveled the world, Jakarta, China. Uh, we did a lot of really, really amazing things. When was that? I think that was 2015. We did that. There was another artist named Mape that I just have to address. Swedish artist. Her name is Mape. She had a big single called "Don't Wait." Um, me and the same bass player Dustin, that we got to MD for her. That was also really, really amazing. I would say that was 2014 into 15. Um, did some amazing stuff. We played Skavlan in Sweden. There's a Swedish TV show, like a late night show. We did Letterman. We did a Volvo campaign. We did Radio City. Like it was just, and we toured with Licky Lee.
Oh,
That was,
I didn't
yeah,
know that. Oh my God, you toured with Licky Lee? No, you did
yeah,
not.
yeah, we did.
No, you did not. I didn't see that written anywhere. I looked. How did I miss that? Oh my God, I love Licky Lee.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
that was
they're
so
so
great.
underrated. Like really,
Yeah,
they're so like that to me is the word for them in the best way possible. So
yeah,
underrated, like so known, so edgy, so like
yeah.
original.
So original. That's the word. Original.
Breaking those genres.
Both of those girls are very original artists. Mape and Licky Lee, man. Like,
Licky
and they're
Lee's been
both
around
Swedish.
forever.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't heard too much from her. I wonder what she's up to.
Yeah, not recently. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, maybe she needs you to give her a call.
I might have to hit her up.
Maybe she needs to come. She needs to come to Vegas and get some inspiration.
Yeah, spend a couple weeks, see what we come up with.
You guys need
Come
to
see
like
the
come
show.
together,
Yeah,
creations and
yeah, man. But yeah, I'm just like all that to say, I'm very. My dad, you said in your bio, inherited my smooth voice from my great uncle, but that's where I will add a correction. I got it from my parents. My parents are two music nerds that met in college that had a little music nerd baby. Um, but my dad and my mother both incredible singers. My mom was
an opera singer, right?
exactly, she was an opera singer, majored in that,
Wow.
in
Just like Mariah
education.
Carey's mom.
What's that?
Just like Mariah Carey's mom.
I just got a wrinkle in my brain. I didn't know that.
Really? Yeah.
That makes so much sense, though.
As soon as I found it out, she just came out with her memoir. I didn't know that for the longest time either, and I was like, oh, and now all
That
the
makes so much sense.
yeah, her mom was a dope opera singer like your mom. So
Wow.
she didn't come from just nowhere.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my mom, and then my dad was a funk lord. My
Mm.
dad. My dad is a sax, as I call it, a saxophonist. Um,
That's a first.
you know, that's my daddy. He played tenor. I think he played soprano a little bit too. Never got down to the bari. But he was also a woodwinds major in college, and then he wanted to get into education, but he never got into the teaching. My mom taught for 30 plus years. Um, my dad, again, funk lord. So his college band was called Time Machine. Horn band like Tower of Power was their biggest inspiration. So he did that for a couple years, and then he went on to start MDing for Natalie. He did that for 11 years through my early childhood. So basically, he's like I'm him. I'm the modern version of him. I was travel. He was traveling all my elementary school years, sending gifts home, calling home from whatever foreign country. Very, very present, absent dad, if I could say.
The same in the circus. The same in the circus world. That was like the best explanation ever.
Right,
Present
right,
absent. That's how we all are just in general in our life.
right.
Like all of us are present but absent. I think my family would say that about me like through and through for my entire life. Like she's
Yeah,
good, but you never see her.
right. But she makes sure she reaches out and stays in contact, and we know what's up with her.
We're very close. You would never know that we don't see each other for months and months and months at a time.
Right.
You know that I was calling collect from Russia when I was like a little kid.
Oh man.
You know,
Yeah.
from Eastern Europe, all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the stuff like they knew what they got into with with our kind of people, our personality types chasing that rabbit. But it's like, it's all love, and when we do talk, we're not leaving and just burning bridges and not talking anymore. It's just this is our plight. This is what we do. And for me, kind of segueing, like that's always been the plan to include my family in my career. Like it's been years of preparation and setup to be where I am right now. But I just knew that I was always going to have my family involved the way my parents did it. My dad, Natalie, who we were also very close with, she was not a distant relative.
Natalie Cole. Sorry, just
Yeah.
Natalie Cole. For those of us that are not on a first time basis of the Cole, I just have to reiterate that. Yes, Miss Natalie.
As we called her, sweetie. She she was a very, very well established resident of Caesar's Palace. And her and David Copperfield were actually really cool. So whenever they played Vegas, that was like the one place we were going to be every time. We might not be in Detroit or New York every time, but there was Atlantic City and Vegas, the two gambling spots. I don't know why. That's where my dad would fly us out, make sure we were there. And also because we lived in California, so Vegas was really close.
Were you born in LA? Were you born in California?
Yeah. West Side.
Oh my God, we're both from California. This
Yeah.
is crazy. You're from LA. I'm from the Bay. Again,
Yeah.
super unique. People can never believe me that I was born and raised in California. I cannot believe that. That was my other question too. I wasn't actually clear on that. Oh my God, look at you. Okay, continue.
A lot of people think I was born I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Everything about you is so New York, but then I also saw that you were like working at the Mint for a long time, and I was like, oh my God, you've been at the Mint for a minute.
Yeah. And that's like, I don't know what that is, because when you really listen to how I talk, I'm West Coast all day. I have the most West Coast accent you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, you sound like my cousins.
Right.
Based in LA, like the more we talk, it's really clear now.
Yeah. When you know, you know.
Oh, that's right. I always tell everybody I'm the original Valley girl, from the Silicon Valley.
Yep.
I'm from San Jose.
Yep. Like people who were born there, that's not just a place that was built after.
Right. Like people that know me for a long time, whenever I say that I'm from LA, because I've been based in LA for a long time, they're like, actually, Shenea's from San Jose. I'm like, you guys, you need to stop. Okay, LA now for like my whole life, and I've been, going to LA since I was a really little kid because my mom was actually born, like raised in LA, and my dad's from Northern California, so I literally have a fusion of both. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's really special how special it is for people when you can say that you were born and raised in California.
it really is, and I'm
Never take it
so
for
proud
granted.
of it.
Yeah, me
I got
too.
a big tattoo on this whole shoulder. There's a bear and a red star and some paisley and some palm trees, and I'm a proud California citizen. Proud.
Very proud, beyond proud. Um,
Yeah,
so back to the fact that now you have your residency, like again, your like lineage continued, which is again
yeah,
bringing us to like how Juneteenth like kind of coalesces within everything, but like all of your like your history. I mean, like Natalie Cole having her
yeah.
residency, all of her work in Vegas. Now you have yours. I mean,
It's surreal, man. Like, so there's the Blue Note also in New York
hmm
that she obviously played quite a few times. Also, my great uncle, Freddie, he also played the Blue Note. They played it together, actually, before both of them passed. God bless them. I was really close with both of them, too. This is my uncle who was my grandfather's brother, Freddie Cole. Um, so, like, I have a very good relationship at the Blue Note in New York. I've played there, done my own thing there a few times. One of the times, the guy who books there, like before I went on, he brought me an actual photo from my cousin and my uncle performing together there. And like, that was pretty messed up. Don't do that before I'm about to go on stage, man. Come on. Jeez.
like oh my gosh. I mean, talk about ancestry, like ancestor energy, all
Right.
that, like,
It's heavy. It's really heavy. I'm following all of them around. My grandfather, he's also a performer. There's Freddie, also a performer. Nat, their brother, obviously also a performer. There was also Eddie, who my father and I kind of are named after Uncle Eddie. And then there's Bay and Betty. So all that lineage, they were all except Betty. They were all performers, hardcore. Um,
incredible. And
so there was no, it wasn't. Yeah, a lot of people know the Nat King Cole name, and they relate that to me. But honestly, I got it straight from my daddy, straight from my mom. And then even more directly from that lineage, my grandfather, like being over it, he lived in Arizona. So I would spend a lot of summers out there and just picking up game from him and watching him play his Rhodes. I actually have his Fender Rhodes that was like the staple piece of the house, of my grandfather's house when he passed, or when my grandmother passed a couple years ago. Like, I was able to get that piece, man. Like, wow. Like, so yeah, it runs deep, but it's honest. Like, it's closer than that. Nat died 18 years before I was born, so I never even met him. Um, but my grandfather, my uncle Freddie, my dad, my mom, and like even specifically in that, like I lived in Japan for about 3 years, and I've always had an affinity for that place. Like, it's just something about it. Come to find out, well, my dad traveled there quite a bit when he was touring with Natalie, and he would always give me the coolest electronics from there. So I was always the cool kid going to school. Like, and my dad would be like, "You took that to school? Don't ever take that. They're gonna take that from you, man." But like, it was always this fascinating place. And then I found out my grandfather was also very fond of Japan, spent a lot of time, so much so he recorded an entire album in Japanese. Um, yeah, I have it. Yeah. And so Nat was also very much a fan of Japan, spent a lot of time. My Uncle Freddie, their brother, also a very big fan. And I actually got to see him perform at, what's it called? Billboard Live out there in Japan. I got to see my old great uncle, Like, that was incredible. And then so like when it was my turn, I couldn't leave. I went over there and was working with Universal and Tokyo Disney. I signed my first contract for 6 months, and then was like, oh, I'm here. I'm here now. I see why my elders could not escape this place. So yeah, the lineage runs deep, and the drive to just see everything and be everywhere and get a full experience of it runs very deep in all of my relatives. Even my mom's side, she has one brother who's also a composer and conductor. He's a conductor for Boston Pops, and he does a lot of stuff. Like even him, it's just everywhere around me. All I've seen is traveling musicians, and they keep their families involved. And so that's all I've known, traveling musicians that keep their families involved. So that's been my biggest goal for many, many years is I'm not taking it if my kids can't be there. I just can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And this is a great opportunity to just follow in my family's lineage. My cousin did so much Caesar's Palace and other stuff out here. So now I'd like to have my own residency, so to speak, at New York. New York is like, I just feel all of their spirits out here. Not everybody. It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm very proud of it. Very, very proud to be part of this bloodline.
Oh my God. And I know that they're all proud of you. I mean, my God. And like, again, for the podcast for Black Music Month listeners out there, please look up these names. If you happen to be unfamiliar with them, please look them up so that all of their legend can just like wash all over you. Because
yeah, it's sad, man. It's scary because when you search "unforgettable" now, French Montana pops up at the top. It's like
it all.
it's terrifying.
They've hijacked it all. This is to remind everybody of the history of all of their music and their evolution, that's what's so important. It's like when you hear these songs and again, people like hear the tracks and they're like, oh, and then you find out like, oh, that's not their song. That's like the Isley Brothers. Like,
right.
They created like all the, like 10 of those songs are them. Like, it's crazy.
Right.
It's original. It's like, no, they created that in the 70s or the 60s or what, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
History is important. We have to remember that. Like,
absolutely.
Where that brilliance started. And then, of course, people got inspired off of that, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But you never want to forget where the credit is.
I'm grateful for Alicia Keys. I don't know if you've heard. She has a song called Nat King Cole. Oh. Yeah. Like, it just came out not that long ago. So there are people that are doing their best to keep that name and that legacy alive because he's definitely starting to, the time is starting to pass and the memory is starting to fade, man. But I really hope we keep doing everything we can to keep it alive because he did some great things for Black people in general, Black musicians specifically, and just entertainment overall.
Yeah, and you're doing that by carrying on his legacy so brilliantly and so beautifully. I mean, there's not also too so many people that come from a lineage like yours that are doing what you do, that are so talented and gifted and, like that continue. People like maybe end up staying out of the spotlight or it's difficult for them to start because they have that lineage. I've met, artists from so many different walks of life and it impacts them all in different ways. So for me, I think that your journey is just probably really in some ways astronomical because you could have gone either way. You could have really just shirked all of that responsibility and the overwhelming expectations of that, but you actually didn't. You came into your own and you've like created and built your own legacy off of that and like evolved it into something that's like all on your own. And again, coming back to the Black presence, what you're so special is someone like me who is Black that's been in the circus world and been in the Cirque Du Soleil world for decades now. I don't like to say that because it ages me, but true. But, you being there and how important it is, how few Black singers there have been in Cirque du Soleil productions, how few Black acrobats there are within Circus, just in general. There are so few of us that we can still just count them easily over the past several decades. And
Yeah.
so your presence, what that means to someone like me, who is usually, again, the only Black artist at all in any circus spaces or any Cirque spaces, is really huge.
Yeah.
You and the other Black singers within the production, and then the BIPOC artists too that accompany you. That's really, really special and unprecedented as well. And so, again, it's something that I want to focus on, that I speak about a lot on this podcast. We've only just
Yeah.
begun to say things like that in the circus world over the last few years, because
Right.
we didn't have the opportunity to say anything like that, and people really didn't understand like what our experience is. So again, you being in MadApple, in Cirque du Soleil, in such a prominent position, like, it's not lost on people like me that are old timers in this world, and that, again, don't see a lot of representation, but are starting to see more representation, and people like not only fronting, but also to being in the driver's seat and making those important decisions, because that's what I consistently call for as well. That, you are the person that's creating everything, and that people are getting those ideas from you and through you. And that you have actual power in that way too. So I just applaud you, because this is a very new universe for those of us to see Cirque and different collaborators of circus genres bring in brilliant Black talent that is always there, but just being made visible because you're given the opportunity that you deserve, basically.
Man, I have to show love to everybody that really put this thing together. First of all, the works. So there's Neil and Simon, as you mentioned. Their company worked with Cirque, so they built the show underneath the Cirque umbrella. And I was part of the casting process as well. They put me on, and then I definitely needed to bring the right people. I know everybody, almost. At least I know everybody that would be good for a production like this. So I was part of that casting process, and in that, I was able to bring the right people on, the best people, and they are pretty much all Black folks, and I am excited about that. There was obviously a very big pool of people to pull from. Cirque already had their own database of people, and I did look through all of those, and I brought my own collection of people, and I definitely, the people that we landed on were not chosen because they were Black, but it was definitely the strongest options of what we had. They were the right people, and they were extremely strong options for what we had. And then even the band, the majority of the band is Black too. So it's just like, kudos to the works for not being scared to do that. Like, they are a predominantly white company, yeah, and they are quick to say it to me, or if it's relevant to a conversation, like, we know what we're good at, we know what we're out of touch with, we know where we need to defer, and they're very, very, very good about that. I can definitely speak, at least for Neil, who I'm very close with. That dude is my guy, and he cares very much about how we present, how we look, and making sure that we're heard and seen. So big shout out to the works and to Neil for having that vision and not being afraid to put us at the forefront. And then to the creators, there's our vocal composer, who he and I work together. His name is Matt Cuson. He's out of East Coast, incredible singer, incredible vocal arranger. So that was an honor to work with him as well. It's crazy. We met doing the Man in the Mirror show that we both met Neil on. So like, now we're working together as vocal arrangers for this show. And then our composer for the show, his name is Evan Duffy. Um, Incredible composer, great student. I always say every interview I do, I think I always call him an incredible student of music. I know there's things in this show that he created that he's never done before, like the Vogue section or the Born This Way section of our show. Like I know he's never done ballroom style music like that, and he knocked it out of the park, man. So um, I definitely I wanted to take the opportunity to shout out all the other collaborators that made the music possible. At least like they made my job easy. Um, it was definitely difficult in a lot of ways, but I had their support when I needed some help with a vocal arranging, or if we needed something with the tracks or musically. Like they're great, and I'm glad to have worked with them on this project. I'm also looking forward to getting through this, what I call our first year, our seed year, and seeing what we get to do and create next year. Because honestly, I'm used with Neil and the works, like my past work with them. I've been music director and the composer and the performer. So this is the first time I haven't been the composer. So
Okay.
I look forward to parlaying into some other things in the future. I like where we are. I'm writing this out, but even if it's not this show, just building on another show, maybe building another Cirque show. I'm really looking forward to getting back into the composition side of the live performance, because that's where the fun happens, man. To just yeah, I'm getting to do it right now with the live musicians. That's where I'm really, I would say, for people, if you don't know what a musical director does out there, um, if you are not also composing the music, then you're really supposed to maintain the composition that the composer came up with and make sure that it's breathing and living on that stage. It's not stale and just the track playing. Like we have live musicians, so the show needs to feel like it's breathing and moving with these acts that are flying and bending and whatever they're doing, all the magic. So that's really my job, is to enhance those moments. When there's a build up, we build. When there's all of that, and create and make it a living and breathing organism of music. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to do that, and it's really good for me this first year because it's about all I can handle as a performer, vocal arranger, director, and music director. It's like that's
Shock.
that's enough.
That's all that you can.
And father, let's not forget that. Oh God, that's a whole other job. So like this is good. My first year being able to get through this and then seeing where we can take it from here it's so beautiful, man. I can't even There's half of me that's like I said, this conversation to be here where I am now started 12 years ago. So there's a side of me that's like, duh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I've worked hard and put in the time for it. But then there's the other side that's like, I can't believe it. Like, wow, it really has manifested now. And it is almost everything that I thought it would be. Um, and if it's not, it's the springboard to that. So yeah, I'm really grateful for all of this movement coming out of a pandemic. It's like this is the first thing I'm doing coming. I mean, save a few shows I did with Nas with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra and all these other incredible things that we were able to do coming out of the pandemic to land on residency in Vegas. It's like
Amazing.
I'm grateful. It's gratitude all over.
You are so incredible. Congratulations again on the success of MadApple. I am so, so fortunate to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much.
I'm fortunate to be here. Thank you.
You're fabulous. You are just everything. Thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom, your legacy, your history. Thank you for dialing into Black music history for us. I learned so much from this podcast, and you just have such a beautiful essence, and I just really appreciate you. And again, only good things for you. I think this will probably be a springboard into all sorts of things, because that's just seemingly what you do. I have no doubt that it's not going to turn into more beautiful things. And so I wish you a happy Father's Day. Again, a happy Juneteenth for everyone out there. Celebrate and reparations.
Come on now. It ain't too late.
Reparations. And to end this podcast, the Like An Acrobat podcast is also available on Circus Talk, the inclusive, independent, and international online network for the circus industry. Circus Talk's mission is to create a level playing field for this industry and democratize access to information. Until next time, everyone, please stay safe and